Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So today we are going to talk about the ever controversial subject of FEMA camps. There's a lot of information out there on FEMA camps, and most of it is entirely wrong, completely 100% inaccurate. So I'm going to talk about 6 questions about FEMA camps. Number 1, what is a FEMA camp? So the popular myth among people on the internet is that FEMA camp is a place where the government has decided to basically round up or house, the people who are, not going along with the system, who don't believe in the New World Order, people who want freedom, people who believe in the Second Amendment, preppers, survivalists, all this kind of stuff. And they're going to round them up. They've got lists. They've been starting lists, and they're going to round them up, and they're going to take them to these FEMA camps, and they're going to re-educate them, or they're going to kill them. Okay? Total garbage. It's totally not true. Okay? Let me tell you what a FEMA camp really is. A FEMA camp is nothing more than a location where the Federal Emergency Management Agency, that's what FEMA stands for, decided to take and pre-position supplies so that they would, in multiple places around the country, so that they would be able to respond to natural disasters quicker and more efficiently. That's all they are. Okay? So, second question, why do FEMA camps exist? It's not really a camp, but we'll use that term. The reason they exist, these pre-positioned supplies, is because after Katrina, the Bush administration received a lot of pressure and a lot of slack about why did it take FEMA so long to respond down to New Orleans for the Katrina response. And so their reaction to that was that the managers of FEMA, and I've actually spoken to the senior managers of FEMA personally, and their response was, okay, well, if you want us to be able to respond faster, then what we're going to need is we're going to need an increase in budget, and we're going to need locations around the world, or around the country, that we can pre-position supplies. Because if I have to, when a disaster happens, as a manager of FEMA, if I have to go and then I have to buy the stuff, then I have to load it on the trucks, and then I have to ship it down there, it's going to take me some time to do that. One way I can improve on that time is if you let me pre-purchase the supplies, place them around the country in strategic locations, and then I can just load it up and send it. And it'll be closer to the area, so we'll have less shipping time, we won't have the buying and purchasing time and all that kind of stuff. It'll be more efficient. So that's what they decided to do. And that's the third purpose is that the third question is, what's their real purpose? And their real purpose was nothing more than the senior FEMA managers trying to be able to be more responsive to people's needs in a federal emergency. Any time when FEMA had to get called out to be there, they wanted to be able to be on time and be able to help, and so that's its real purpose. That they're nothing more than to try to help people in disasters. All right, there's no nefarious aspect of FEMA. FEMA is actually a very small agency, and aside from coordinating disaster relief, all they really do is they coordinate between the federal and the state officials during an emergency to help make sure that information and supplies get to where they need to be. That's all I do. Okay, so where are the FEMA camps located, and why were they put in these locations? Well, FEMA camps were located in typically the camp. It's not really a camp, but are typically put in old military bases that had been closed down, or reserve bases that had been closed down. And the reason they use those facilities is because the federal government already owned that land. They already owned it, so they could take and they could go in and they could use some of the old warehouses and hangars and stuff, and they could pre-position hundreds of pallets of water and food, MREs and cots and tents and all these kinds of things, and even the coffins that you see, And this wasn't one of my questions, but I'll put this in here. Why do they have coffins? Well, they have coffins because it's a disaster, and they may need to end up burying a lot of people or whatever in an expedient manner, or temporarily housing. They may not bury those people, but they may temporarily house them, the dead people there, for identification, and that is in a sanitary way to do so that it doesn't spread germs and stuff everywhere. So flies and crap aren't getting to them and all that kind of stuff. So that's all it is. What's the next one? And let's see, number 5. Will the government round people up and put them in FEMA camps? No. They're not going to. It's absolutely crazy. Now, in the past, have we rounded people up? Yes, we have. In the past, in World War II, we rounded up Japanese people. We've rounded up Native Americans, all that kind of stuff. The reason we wouldn't need to now is because it logistically would be easier and more attainable to cordon off a certain area if you wanted to impose martial law or something around a city or something like that, and just move the military people and resources to the area where you wanted to contain. The idea of taking hundreds of thousands or millions of people or whatever and putting them on an old military base with no infrastructure and all that kind of stuff is just patently false. I mean, I can't even imagine why it is that people think that this is a real thing. But there's a lot of convincing, I guess the real reason is because there's a lot of convincing people and videos that think that this is real, but it's just not real. And that's what this channel is all about, is reality survival. So I'm telling you the inside scoop. I've worked for the government for 20 years. I've seen behind the scenes. I know, the ins and outs of all of this. And it's just not true. So, okay, the number 6 question is, do FEMA camps still exist? No, they don't. And here's why they don't exist. So I think it was during the Obama administration, it was around 2009 or so, they basically stopped funding this effort to do it because it was too expensive. And what had happened, was, how many hurricanes have hit and destroyed a lot of stuff since Katrina? Not many. And so it was basically cost prohibitive. And so they basically stopped funding it. They took this down, and they just no longer do it. They're basically going to take the hit if there is an emergency and they're not able to get supplies there in time. They looked at funding this for multiple years over. They figured the cost is not worth the gain, and they cut the program. So, and that it came straight from a senior FEMA official's mouth, straight to me in a personal conversation. So I don't doubt that it's true at all. But that is the scoop on FEMA camps. So hopefully it was useful to you guys. It is the truth. If you don't believe it, then you don't believe it, and that's okay. And I understand that, and I'm sure you can tell me in the comments below why I'm wrong. It isn't that I don't think that government isn't sinister enough to do this. Okay, it's just that it's just not real. It's just the government would much rather have you be happy and content in your home, going to your job day after day, being a slave to debt, being a slave to taxation, continuing to pump money into the system to fund their power, and keeping the status quo. They don't want anything other than that. And so radical moves like this are not in their best interest. Why do I say that? Well, because it would, if any of this stuff was real, you can't keep a secret like that. Okay? It's just like the 9/11 truther thing, all that kind of stuff. You can't, man, I'm telling you, you can't have a secret with 100 people and keep it from it getting out, let alone 1,000 or multiple thousands of people. It just doesn't happen. So, something like this got out, you're going to arouse the suspicion of the public, and the people are going to stand up against it, and they're going to start rebelling, and they're going to start being, angry about it, rightfully so, if it was real. And that's the last thing that the government wants. That people, they have no interest in that. Anything that's going to destabilize their continuing to be in positions of power is totally against what they want to do. That is just my 2 cents on it. You guys can weigh in on it in the comments. You can tell me why I'm wrong, or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to argue with you about it because I know what I'm saying is factual. But, be that as may, I'm sure people have different opinions, so I'd love to hear about them. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button, when you share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.